gripping courtroom drama in Georgia, where a former executive is charged with murdering the husband of his mistress. He admits to the shooting outside a daycare center in 2010, and now a jury's going to decide if he was mentally ill or a cold-blooded murder. ABC's Lindsay Davis is tracking the case. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, George. Just what motivated Hemy Neuman to kill a man outside of that Georgia daycare depends on who you believe. The defense argues he's a deeply troubled man with a history of mental illness, but prosecutors say he's an adulterer and a murderer. Now it's up to a jury to decide.
That's not insanity. That's just good old-fashioned murder.
This morning, for a second time, a jury is deliberating the fate of Hemy Neuman, a former GE executive who admits he shot Rusty Sneiderman in cold blood outside of a Georgia daycare in 2010, but claims he's not guilty by reason of insanity.
If Hemy Neuman was faking his mental illness, if he planned this thinking all along, I'm going to say I was mentally ill, he could have done a better job.
But prosecutors say Neuman had a premeditated plan to kill Sneiderman, a father of two, as he dropped off his 2-year-old son at this daycare. The motive? Neuman was having an affair with Sneiderman's wife, Andrea, and was obsessed with her.
Rusty had something that he wanted, and the only way that he was going to get that something was to kill the man that had it.
Back in 2012, a jury found Neuman guilty but mentally ill. But the state Supreme Court overturned the conviction, ruling Neuman's mental health records should not have been part of the evidence. In this second trial, Neuman's defense team is weighing heavily on the testimony of a psychologist.
That he had undiagnosed and untreated bipolar disorder.
Neuman's lawyers say in the months before killing Rusty Sneiderman, the 48-year-old engineer was visited by a demon with the voice of Barry White and an angel with the voice of Olivia Newton-John.
You will come to the right verdict, and that is that Hemy Neuman is not guilty by reason of insanity.
If the delusion does not exist, then you must convict.
Prosecutors say Neuman isn't delusional. He's simply a selfish murderer.
He wanted something that someone else had. He was going to do whatever it took to get it, including that, committing murder.
The victim's wife, Andrea Schneiderman, is now out on parole after being convicted of perjury for lying under oath about her affair with Neuman. Her lawyer told ABC News Ms. Schneiderman had nothing to do with the murder of her husband. Mr. Neuman acted alone and should be found guilty of murder. But that's actually not the question. The question is not if he's guilty. The question is he insane?
And let's take that question out of Nancy Grace. Thank you, Lindsay. Nancy, the host of Nancy Grace on HLN. Thanks for joining us again this morning, Nancy. So convicted the first time, gets this retrial on a technicality. How much of a chance does he have?
Well, I tell you, I think it's going to be second verse, same as the first, because the defense can't get over the hurdle that they're lying about a sex affair. This is old as David and Bathsheba. He sees her, she works for him, and he falls in love with her. There are hundreds and hundreds of emails between the two. They would go on trips together, work trips, where she would ask for adjoining rooms. He asked her to marry him, dinners, flowers, romance. I don't know how they can deny the elephant in the room. They are saying that the sex affair was just a delusion. Well, right there, you lose the jury. Not only that, there are videotapes of him talking behind bars where he says, well, poisoning would be impossible. Stabbing would be too messy. A week before, this young father is gunned down outside the daycare where he drops off his 2-year-old son. He was caught lying in the bushes outside the people's home, trying to kill him then. I'll tell you what happened the first time. They got guilty, but mentally ill. That's the worst possibility for the defense, because you go to a treatment facility, and then when you get well, you go to jail. And he had great lawyers the first time. As a matter of fact, one of his first lawyers, Bob Rubin, was my public defender for years. I tried cases against him. Very good lawyer. I don't see how they can pull this out.
Yeah, well, you just made a strong case for the prosecution right there. But last time around, Andrea Sneiderman played a key role in the case, was used by both the prosecution and defense. This time she hasn't even testified.
I think that is a mistake, because last time the defense said, yes, Hemy Neuman had the gun in his hand, but Andrea Sneider Sneiderman pulled the trigger because of their relationship. It's not going to work if they try to deny this relationship. And please, they're claiming he saw a demon that was Barry White. Remember him? I Can't Get Enough of Your Love, Baby. And the angel was Olivia Newton-John. That's the extent of his mental illness. No jury in their right mind is going to buy this. And I can tell you this much. Juries don't like it when you hide something from them. It's best to just put the whole thing out there and argue your case. And with the defense arguing there was no sex affair and no motive for murder, they're going to lose the jury in the beginning of the closing statement.
Well, you just put your whole case out there. Nancy Grace, thanks very much.